remember that situation in January? I think Peanut the squirrel, and they also had like a raccoon, right? These people, they had an animal rescue. I think it was in New York State or somewhere like that. And basically, the authorities came in one day and got a warrant and searched the property, seized the animals, and then because the squirrel bit one of the handlers or something like that, they killed them. And they were like, oh, we had to test them for rabies, and the only way to test them for rabies is to kill them, and then do an autopsy or something on them, and then see if they had rabies or not. So now the investigation's over, and they have this report saying that the police officers got death threats against them after all of this hype, because this was a huge story, because the squirrel was like a social media star, and like even JD Vance was talking about it at the time. And so yeah, they killed the squirrel, and they killed the raccoon as well to test them for rabies, and then they waited for 2 weeks. They knew, but they still waited for 2 weeks to tell people that no, they didn't have rabies. They traumatized those people that own that rehabilitation center for animals, basically turning their whole house upside down. They went on TV, I remember. They went on TV, and I think it was like TMZ or something, and they showed how the cops, 12 of them came into their house and like tossed the whole house trying to seize these animals. And I think they said also part of the reason why they were euthanized right away was because the squirrel bit one of the handlers, the wildlife expert or something. So, and I thought at the time, this is a squirrel. You don't know who, like, you're a stranger to this animal. It's under distress. Yeah, I could see it biting you in the hand. So, yeah. And I thought to myself, why don't you have protective gear on when you're, handling a wild animal? Whatever. I thought it was upsetting at the time, and I think it was upsetting to so many people, and that's why they got so many threats against the authorities. And they busted into this couple's house and damaged their whole house and took the animals, only to kill the animals. And if you read this story on AP, they say that they had no intention of sending them to a place to be rehabilitated. That's where people thought that they were going to send them somewhere to be rehabilitated, and it was actually that they were like, no, we have to do this test, and it means killing them. And that's what annoyed people so much, that like these are just animals. There's no reason to kill them, And if you look further on in the story, it's even worse, because they say the reason why all this stuff kicked up was because of complaints from the neighbors and then people who watched their TikTok and another wildlife rehabilitation group. Those people, probably because of jealousy of how popular it was becoming, and I don't know, just personal hate against them, were phoning and emailing the authorities to complain about them. Like, about a squirrel. Just that the squirrel was like a social media star, that they used to dress it up with like a little hat, and it looked really cute. So, I don't know. I think it's closure for people who are wondering about the whole Peanut the squirrel thing. And remember, these people used the squirrel to get like revenue to fund the rest of their animal sanctuary. So I don't know how they're doing now. But yeah, it was just really disappointing that these people went through so much effort to kill a squirrel and like a raccoon. Remember, they got a court order to search these people's house, and like 12 cops showed up and busted in and just tossed their house, right? Just to get a squirrel and a raccoon, only to kill them. What do you think about this?